My sister set a boundary that could ruin her nephew's life. You ever think you really know your family, like, truly believe you've got them figured out, only to have them blindside you so hard that your head's still spinning days later? Yeah. That's me right now. 30F, just had a baby 6 months ago, and honestly, I thought life was finally on track. I've got a husband I adore, parents who love their grandchild, and a family that, while not perfect, has always been pretty close. At least, that's what I thought. Turns out, I was wrong. Because my younger sister, 24, just dropped a bomb on me. And not just on me, on my husband, my baby, and basically every family dynamic we've ever had. She laid down this so-called boundary, and it's the kind of thing that could completely shatter the relationship she has with her nephew. And it all started with what I thought was the simplest errand in the world. So let's rewind. 7 years ago, when I first started dating my husband, I brought him home to meet my family. My parents? They welcomed him with open arms. My brother? Neutral, but polite. But my sister? From day one, she was off. Standoffish, distant, always avoiding small talk. At the time, I brushed it off because, well, that's just her personality. She's never really liked people, doesn't keep many friends, and rarely brings anyone around. Honestly, I just thought she was introverted and awkward. Still, before my husband and I tied the knot, I wanted to clear the air. I asked her directly if she had any issues with him. She looked me dead in the eye and said, no. He seems nice. That was enough for me. I asked her to be my maid of honor, she said yes, and everything seemed fine. But apparently, fine was just an illusion. Last week, I asked my husband to drop off some food at my parents' place. My sister still lives there, and I figured no big deal, just a quick handoff. He's gone less than 5 minutes. When he comes back, he looks pale, shaken even. What happened? I ask. And he tells me. He knocked, stepped into the kitchen, and found my sister there. He tried to hand her the food, and she flat out told him to put it in the garage. Which, by the way, made 0 sense because they were literally standing in the kitchen. He figured whatever, maybe she didn't want clutter. But when he tried to make small talk, just a harmless comment about the weather, she snapped. I mean, full-on snapped. She told him, don't ing talk to me, then stormed out like he just insulted her entire bloodline. When he told me, my brain immediately started racing. Did he say something wrong? Did he do something that I don't know about? My gut screamed no, this man has never, not once, given me a reason to doubt his character. But still, it shook me. So I called my sister. She hung up. Texted her, ignored. I spent the next day blowing up her phone until she finally responded. And her message? It wasn't an explanation. It wasn't an apology. It was a declaration. She said she hates my husband. That she's always hated him. And her one boundary is that he never talks to her. 7 years. 7. And she's barely spoken a handful of words to him, most of them polite greetings. And now she's suddenly telling me she's hated him this entire time? I asked her why. Point blank. Did he do something? Did he say something? Anything? She said no. No reason, no incident, just hatred. And I can't even describe the frustration that boiled inside me at that moment. Because how the hell do you fight against a feeling with no explanation? Our family's close-knit. My brother and I pop over to my parents all the time. We cook together, we hang out, we let them dote on their grandson. And I told her straight up, if she refuses to even let him greet her, it's going to get weird. We can't just pretend he doesn't exist. You know what she said? I'm sick of having a stranger in my home. A stranger. The man I've been with for 7 years. The man who stood beside me at our wedding. The father of her nephew. A stranger. I told her fine, I wouldn't send him to drop things off anymore. But even then, my head was spinning. 7 years and she still thinks of him like some random guy off the street? Then she doubled down. It's not the point. I don't want him talking to me. Ever. And here's where things hit a breaking point. Because I told her straight up, if that's her boundary, then it's going to affect her relationship with my son. My husband will never be comfortable letting our baby spend time around someone who openly hates him. And honestly, I won't either. I don't know what kind of poison she'll try to plant in his little head once he's old enough to understand words. And that crushed me, because my parents adore my baby. He's their first grandchild, their pride and joy. But if my sister keeps this up, it's not just her relationship that's going to suffer, it's theirs too. Less visits. Less time. More tension. Her response? She accused me of playing the victim. Said I was painting her as some villain and trampling on her one boundary. And now I'm stuck here, confused, heartbroken, and honestly a little angry. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I'm in the wrong. And I don't know how to fix a situation that doesn't even seem fixable. But then, something happened that made me question everything all over again. Because when I brought this up to my parents, my mom let something slip. Something that made me wonder if maybe my sister's hatred isn't as random as she claims. And that's where I'll leave it for now. So, remember how I said my mom let something slip? Yeah. That's been gnawing at me ever since. Here's what happened. After the whole "don't let him talk to me" meltdown with my sister, I went to my parents because honestly, I needed advice. My dad has always been the calm one, the let it blow over type. He just kind of shrugged and told me not to worry, that my sister has always been difficult. And normally, that's true, she does have a temper, she does push people away. But this felt bigger. Meaner. And then my mom, in this offhand way, said, "She's been like this ever since." Well, never mind. My brain screeched to a halt. Ever since what? I pressed her. Mom, what do you mean? Ever since when? But she shook her head, changed the subject, and started fussing with the baby like she hadn't just dropped a nuclear bomb in my lap. And I can't get it out of my head. What happened? What could have possibly made my sister hate my husband without reason? That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling while my husband slept next to me. I couldn't shake the thought, what if this isn't just some random hatred? What if something actually happened and nobody's telling me? I mean, I've asked her directly. Point blank. And she swore he never did anything. But then why the drama? Why the venom? I started spiraling, going through every interaction I could remember between them over the past 7 years. And the list was laughably short. A handful of greetings. Maybe 1 or 2 sarcastic comments from her end. Nothing that would explain full-blown hatred. The next morning, I cornered my mom again while my sister was at work. "Mom," I said, "you can't just say something like that and drop it." "What did you mean?" "Ever since what?" She sighed, like she was carrying the weight of 1,000 secrets, and finally muttered, "It's not my story to tell." I wanted to scream. Not her story to tell? This is my marriage, my child, my family. How can it not involve me? I pushed again, but she clammed up. Said I should focus on my baby, on my husband, and let your sister figure herself out. But here's the thing. My sister isn't figuring anything out. She's doubling down. Because later that week, I stopped by my parents' house with the baby. My husband was at work, so I figured safe zone. But the moment I walked in, I could feel the tension radiating from her. She didn't even say hi to me. She just stared at my son like he was the only person in the room. "Can I hold him?" she asked, her voice flat. I hesitated. For the first time, I actually hesitated before letting her touch my baby. I handed him over slowly, my stomach in knots. She lit up, like, genuinely lit up, for the first time in forever. She cooed at him, rocked him gently, kissed his little forehead. And for a second, I almost forgot everything. But then she said something that sent chills down my spine. "I'm glad he's nothing like his father." I froze. "Excuse me?" She looked up at me, eyes cold. "You heard me." I snatched my baby back before I could even think. My heart was pounding, my ears ringing. "What is your problem with him?" I snapped. "What did he do to you?" And once again, she gave me that infuriating line, "He didn't do anything. I just hate him." And you need to respect that. I left immediately, baby in my arms, my chest tight with anger and fear. When I got home, my husband could tell something was wrong. I didn't want to tell him what she said, but I couldn't keep it from him either. He looked crushed. Just sat there in silence, staring at the floor. I don't know what I did, he finally whispered. But whatever it is, I'm sorry. And that broke me. Because he doesn't deserve this. He's been nothing but kind, patient, and respectful. He's tried for 7 years to bridge this stupid gap, and she's just poisoned against him. Now I'm stuck between protecting my husband, protecting my child, and holding on to a family that suddenly feels like it's splintering apart. And then, just when I thought it couldn't get more complicated, my brother pulled me aside. He said there's something I don't know. Something about my sister. Something that might finally explain why she's acting this way. But he refused to tell me unless I promised not to tell anyone else. My brother has never been the dramatic type. He's quiet, laid back, the kind of guy who lets chaos swirl around him without really getting pulled in. So when he pulled me aside that night, looking more serious than I've ever seen him, I knew something was up. There's something you don't know, he said, his eyes darting around like he was afraid someone might overhear, even though we were in my living room with the baby monitor buzzing softly in the background. I leaned forward. What do you mean? He hesitated, chewing on his lip. I'll tell you, but only if you swear you won't tell Mom, Dad, or her that I told you. I don't want to get dragged into this mess. My heart started pounding. If it's about my husband or my baby, you need to tell me. I can't promise to keep it quiet if it's something serious. He shook his head. It's not about him. Not directly. But it explains why she acts the way she does. I stared at him, waiting, my mind running through every worst-case scenario. Drugs? Abuse? A secret relationship? Finally, he sighed. She's been burned before. Badly. I frowned. By who? He shifted uncomfortably in his chair. You remember that guy she was sort of seeing a few years ago? The one she never really introduced to the family? I racked my brain. My sister has always been secretive about her personal life, so it took me a second. And then it clicked. Some vague memory of late-night whispers, of her sneaking out more often than usual, of Dad complaining that she was being irresponsible. Yeah, I said slowly. What about him? My brother lowered his voice. He wasn't just some casual fling. She was obsessed with him. Like, in love. He played her. Lied to her. Took advantage of her, financially and emotionally. When he was done, he ghosted. Just disappeared. Left her completely wrecked. I sat back, stunned. I'd never heard any of this. Not from her. Not from my parents. Not even a hint. She never told me, I whispered. She never tells anyone, my brother said. That's her thing. She bottles it up. But I think ever since then, she doesn't trust men. At all. Especially ones that get close to her family. It made a kind of sense, but still. So what, you're saying she hates my husband because of something some loser did years ago? That doesn't add up. My brother ran a hand through his hair. I'm not saying it's logical. I'm saying that's how she is. She convinces herself people are threats. She pushes them away before they can hurt her. You brought him home, she slapped a label on him, stranger, don't trust, don't like, and she never changed her mind. I sat there, trying to process. Anger, sadness, pity, it all swirled together until I couldn't separate one from the other. So what am I supposed to do? I asked finally. Just accept that she's going to hate my husband forever? Keep them apart? Pretend this isn't destroying my family? My brother shrugged helplessly. I don't know. I just thought you should understand where she's coming from. Doesn't mean you have to accept it. He left not long after, leaving me with more questions than answers. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head, my sister's venom, my mom's cryptic words, my brother's reluctant confession. And then a thought hit me, sharp and ugly, what if she isn't just projecting? What if there's something more? Something she's hiding that directly involves my husband? The idea gnawed at me until I couldn't stand it anymore. The next morning, I decided to confront her. Not gently. Not with patience. I was done tiptoeing. I drove to my parents' house unannounced. Walked straight in. Found her in the living room, scrolling on her phone like she didn't have a care in the world. She looked up, annoyed. What are you doing here? I didn't waste time. What's your problem with him? Really? Don't give me that I just hate him crap. Tell me the truth. Her face went pale. For just a second, just long enough for me to catch it, she looked scared. And then she smirked. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. My stomach dropped. Try me. She set her phone down, folded her arms, and leaned back on the couch. Fine, she said. You want the truth? The reason I hate your husband is because he reminds me of someone. Someone you don't know about. Someone who ruined my life. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Someone who ruined your life? I repeated, my voice sharper than I meant. Who? What are you talking about? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she picked up the remote and turned the TV off, like she needed silence to say what came next. Then she leaned forward, elbows on her knees, eyes locked on me. You remember when I was 19? She asked. I nodded cautiously. Yeah. You remember how I suddenly stopped going to school, quit my part-time job, and basically disappeared into my room for 6 months? I blinked. Of course I remembered. At the time, Mom and Dad said she was just struggling with stress. I believed them. She never told me otherwise. Yeah, I said slowly. I remember. But you wouldn't talk about it. That's because I couldn't. Her voice was flat, emotionless, but I could see her knuckles whitening as she clenched her fists. There was this guy. I thought he was everything. Older, charming, made me feel like I wasn't invisible. For once in my life, someone looked at me and saw me. My stomach churned. She went on. He wasn't who I thought he was. He used me. He lied about everything, his age, his job, even his name. By the time I realized it, it was too late. I'd already given him everything. He broke me, and then he left me. And you know the sickest part? She let out a bitter laugh. He looked a hell of a lot like your husband. I froze. What? She nodded, eyes narrowing like she was daring me to challenge her. The same smile. The same voice. Even the same stupid way he tries to make small talk. Every time I look at your husband, I don't see him, I see that bastard who ruined me. And I'm not going to sit around and pretend I can be polite when every nerve in my body is screaming to run. My chest felt tight. Why didn't you ever tell me? I whispered. Because you wouldn't have believed me, she snapped. You're so wrapped up in him, you wouldn't have cared. You would have thought I was exaggerating, or that I was jealous. So I kept my mouth shut. I swallowed it. And now you want me to sit in the same room with him and smile? No. That's my boundary. He doesn't talk to me, I don't talk to him. That's it. I sat there, torn in two. On one hand, I finally had an answer, an awful, painful answer that made my sister's behavior make a kind of twisted sense. On the other hand, it didn't feel complete. Because there was something off about the way she said it. Something rehearsed. Something unfinished. You said he reminded you of someone, I said carefully. But you didn't say what actually happened. Did he just ghost you? Or was there more? Her eyes flickered. For a fraction of a second, fear flashed across her face again before she forced it back into cold anger. Drop it, she said flatly. That's all you need to know. I leaned in. No. It's not. If this is going to rip our family apart, then I need the whole truth. Not half of it. Not some vague story about a guy who looks like my husband. Everything. Her jaw tightened. She grabbed her phone, stood up, and walked toward the stairs. Then you'll never get it, she said over her shoulder. Because if I tell you the rest, you'll hate me. And with that, she disappeared upstairs, leaving me standing in my parents' living room with my heart racing and a million new questions clawing at my brain. For the first time since this whole nightmare started, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't just about her trauma. This was about a secret she was keeping. A secret that could blow everything up if it ever came out. I didn't sleep that night. My mind raced in circles, turning over everything my sister had said, and everything she hadn't. I knew one thing for certain, whatever she was hiding wasn't small. It had to be massive, because the way she looked at my husband, the venom in her voice, the intensity of her boundary, it wasn't just dislike. It was war. The next morning, I made a decision. I couldn't keep pretending, couldn't tiptoe around this like nothing was wrong. I had to confront her again. Calmly, firmly, and this time, I was not leaving until she gave me the full story. I walked into my parents' house, baby in arms, and found her in the living room, headphones in, pretending she wasn't home. I sat down across from her and placed the baby gently on the couch between us. He gurgled, kicking his little legs, blissfully unaware of the storm about to erupt. Listen, I said, keeping my voice steady, I get it. I get why you hate him. But this boundary you've created, it's destroying everything. It's affecting your nephew, my marriage, our family. I need the truth. All of it. Her eyes narrowed. I've told you everything I can. What more do you want? I leaned in. You didn't tell me the part that matters. What really happened? Who really hurt you? The part you're scared I'll hate you for. She froze. I could see it in her face, the fight or flight, the panic she'd hidden under years of icy control. Then, slowly, she exhaled, almost like she was giving in to some invisible weight she could no longer bear alone. Fine, she whispered. But you have to promise me. No one else. Not Mom. Not Dad. Not your husband. I nodded, barely daring to breathe. I promise. She bit her lip and started. It wasn't just some guy from a few years ago, she began. It was someone close. Someone my parents trusted. Someone I thought was a friend. He lied, manipulated, and yes, he took advantage of me. I lost everything, my confidence, my friends, my sense of safety. And when it was over, he disappeared. Completely. And the worst part is that your husband, he reminds me of him. Not in everything, but in the little things. The gestures, the jokes, the way he talks. And every time I see him, I see that betrayal. I see the person who shattered my world. And I just can't face it. My chest tightened. I understood her pain, I really did. Trauma doesn't always make sense, and sometimes the smallest reminders can ignite the biggest fires. But this was going too far. I reached out, placing a gentle hand on hers. I get it. I do. But your boundary is hurting the one person who can't protect himself, your nephew. And it's hurting all of us too. You can't keep punishing him for something that happened years ago. Her shoulders shook. She tried to pull away, but I held firm. I'm not asking you to forgive him overnight. I'm asking you to try. To let your nephew know his aunt loves him, not hate him because of something from your past. He didn't do anything to you. My husband didn't do anything to you. We're not the same people. She looked down at the baby, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of something human, softness, longing, regret. He reached for her finger instinctively, and she hesitated before letting him wrap his tiny hand around hers. And then she broke. Tears streamed down her face. I don't want to hate him, she whispered. I can't let myself trust again. I don't want to be hurt again. But, seeing my nephew, it's different. Maybe I can try. I exhaled a breath I didn't even realize I was holding. That's all I'm asking. One step. One moment at a time. We sat there for a while, baby between us, tears and laughter mingling in a way that felt like healing. It wasn't perfect, and it probably never would be completely normal again. But it was a start. Later that week, we arranged a small family lunch. My sister arrived hesitantly, eyes wary, but she stayed. She didn't talk to my husband much, not yet, but she smiled at the baby, passed him gently between her arms and mine, and for the first time in 7 years, I felt a flicker of hope. Hope that our family could survive trauma, grudges, and boundaries set in fear. Hope that forgiveness, even if slow and fragile, was possible. And as I watched my sister coo at her nephew, I realized something important. People carry scars we can't always see. And sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is let them heal, while holding on to love tight enough to guide them through the storm. Because family isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, even when it's messy, painful, and terrifying. And that's exactly what we did. The battle wasn't over. Trust would take time. But for the first time, I believed we could survive it. Together.